Our focus for side lying on the reformer is mostly the same as our side lying series on the mat. So we're really looking at hip stability, hip mobility. We're just looking for being able to stabilize the torso and the trunk while we move the legs in a side lying position. So a lot of side body work all around. So there are technically three ways that we can bring our mat work side lying onto the reformer. One is to just lay on our side on the reformer and do mat, side kick, and side lying series here. But the ones we're going to start with today are side lying using the foot bar and side lying using the foot strap. So spring wise for these, we want to start, let's pause there, that can be. Let's go ahead and start with our foot and strap side lying series. Typically, we're going to work with about one spring here. You could be anywhere from a single blue to a single red, even up to a single green. The heavier it gets, the more load is going to be placed on the leg and the more challenge we're going to get for just kind of stabilizing and maintaining that position, right? There's more to push or pull against. However, on the flip side of that, a light spring can be somewhat challenging because you can't rest your leg into the spring as much. So it's a little bit more similar to what our mat side lying work is without resistance. We can come into any of our side lying positions. So you can lay down on your side with a ball under your head or arm under your head, or you can be all the way up onto your forearm as we do on the mat. So you've got lots of options here when it comes to setup. The higher up we come, the more challenging this is going to be, right? So now we've got some shoulder stability involved. Once we're there, just go ahead and grab onto your strap, tug it out and slide it over the top foot and kick the leg out nice and long. We really want to get that reach out of the leg to lift up through the lower side here. And we're going to start with side kick, just kicking straight forward with a flex foot and then dragging the carriage back. We can then do a leg lift. We can do some circles, big or small. And there's really a lot of options that we can do leg-wise here. Pretty much anything that you can do on the mat, you can do with your foot in the strap. Some common problems that we see here, some are similar to our mat work, right? So if we're on the forearm, we want to make sure we're not sagging down towards the floor, but instead pushing up out of that shoulder, getting that lift through the lower side. We want to have this nice reach out of the leg so that we're not just kind of having the strap pull back into us, but we're pushing that tension away. And then I would say the main one that we see here is that either people will just kind of drop the leg towards the floor and let the strap pull it all the way forward and then pull back. And instead, we want to cue keeping the foot at about the same height and only coming as far forward as you can keep the hips stacked and then dragging back. And then the other thing that we see quite often with this, similar to side lying work on the mat, is that people will kind of rotate their pelvis up towards the ceiling. So we just want to make sure we're cueing, stacking the hips, shoulders, ribs, and all of that so that we've got people in a nice, stable position here. So a couple things to take note of if we're doing side lying work with our foot on the foot bar, which is essentially just side lying footwork. We can do it with the foot bar in this 45-degree angle position where it is normally locked in. However, to do it in this position, we need to make sure we really scooch our hips down towards the foot bar so that we get a nice amount of hip, knee, and ankle flexion. So that's one thing to take note of, is that a lot of times if people are up here to start, we don't have a lot of range of motion to work with. So a nice option for doing side lying footwork here is to just go ahead and lift that foot bar up where we've already got a little bit more flexion to work with. So otherwise, the setup is the same as any other side lying position. Again, you can do this down all the way on your side or stay up on the forearm. And we're just going to press the carriage out all the way and then gently bring it back in as far as you can without losing the stacked pelvis position. We can do this in a parallel with the heel on the bar. We can do it parallel with the knee turned up. We could go ball of the foot. And then we even could go ball of the foot back behind. So you're working the hip into a little bit more of an extension here through the back of the booty, and then you bring it back in. Spring wise for this one, we can go a little bit heavier than we can with your straps, but anything from a blue up to a green or a red and a blue could be a good spring option for this.